For our practice today, we're going to be focusing on some of the fundamentals and the foundations of our yoga practice, giving us a good basis of knowledge to further our practice as we go on. You might want to grab a couple of props from around the house to help you. If you have yoga blocks, brilliant, grab hold of them. But unless you specifically bought those, it might be easier to go and find other products that you've just got around your house. So an alternative to using a block could be something like a tin can. You want something that's going to give you a little bit of height away from the mat. What I've picked up is just 2 Tupperware containers, so I'm going to use these as my blocks. And you might also want a cushion or 2 or something soft, maybe like a folded blanket, as that might be helpful to support your knees or your back during some of our poses. If you want to pause the video while you go and grab your props, that's fantastic, please do. But when you're ready, I want everyone to find themselves in a laying down position on your mat. And I want us to spend the next few moments just finding ourselves arriving on the mat, letting go of anything that's been or anything that's coming, and focusing on this hour of luxury time to focus on ourselves. Feel the mat take the weight of your body. It's there to hold you, it's there to support you. Feel your hips sink down into the mat. Feel your shoulders lowering down. Feel your forehead relax and your jaw unclench. And we're going to focus a little bit on breathing to start off with. So staying lying down on your backs and keeping your eyes closed if it's comfortable. We're going to work on connecting our breathing and making it conscious. So in yoga, pranayama, which is the focus of our breathing practice, is about connecting to this vital force around your body and harvesting the energy that provides you. And in yoga, we want to breathe in and out through the nose. And it can be an audible breath, so a soft whisper. And we want to try and get some sort of balance between the inhale and the exhale. So still lying down on your backs, I'd like you to breathe in through your nose for a count of 4. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're just going to try and extend that a little bit more. So we're going to try and inhale for a count of 5 and exhale for a count of 5. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'd like you to keep doing that for the next 3 rounds. If you feel that you can extend to 6, maybe 7, maybe 8, please do. But try and keep the inhale and the exhale balanced. And throughout the practice today, keep that awareness of breath. It doesn't need to be physically counting it, but try and keep that balance between the deep inhale and the deep exhale. And just before we start moving into our practice today, I just want to talk to you a little bit about the benefits of yoga. And one of the best ways to explain why yoga is such an important thing for our lives is to go to the Yoga Sutras. So this is essentially the Yoga Bible. This has been written thousands of years ago and sets out the purpose of yoga. And this version that I've got is a commentary on it, and I just wanted to read you a little extract about the importance of practicing yoga poses. What we need is the strength of steel, but with steel's flexibility. The body must be so supple it can bend in any way you want. Such a body will always be healthy and tension-free. This is why Hatha Yoga was created. People trying to sit quietly found that they couldn't. They encountered pain, stiffness, and thought, what is the reason for these things, and how can we get rid of them? They concluded that these could be gotten rid of by squeezing the body in all different directions. For example, they found the way to cleanse the liver, the spleen, and the intestines was by doing the forward bending pose, which is bending forward and crushing the stomach a bit. When the spine was stiff and didn't want to move, they employed postures that bent it forwards, backwards, sideways, and upside down. Although Hatha Yoga is several thousand years old, it never becomes outdated. The truths of it are always current. And that passage really resonates with me in regards to thinking, if there's negative energy, if there's toxins flowing around the body, that has a massive effect on your day-to-day life. And that's not just physical health, it connects to mental health as well. So hopefully by learning some of these foundations for our yoga practice, we can start to open up this benefit of releasing these toxins in the body, cleansing the body, so we can live a healthy and balanced life. So from your lying down pose, gently roll onto your right hand side and slowly push your way up to find yourself in a kneeling position. If this isn't comfortable, on your knees, on your hips, you can either widen your feet, you could place a cushion beneath you, maybe one of your blocks, or you could pad the knees slightly with a cushion or a rolled up blanket. So the first pose that we're going to go into today is going to be child's pose, and we're going to use this pose to connect with our breath, but also to warm up the body. So from your kneeling position, you're going to lean forward with your arms out in front of you, and you're going to try and connect your forehead to the mat. You want your hips to be sat back onto your heels as close as they can. And you want your arms outstretched in front of you, and you want your arms to be active. So keeping your elbows lifted, and we try and feel that stretch along our shoulders, opening them up. In child's pose, you're going to take in 3 rounds of that deep breath, that regulated breath that we talked about, and feel your belly rise on your thighs. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And with your next inhale, you're going to walk your hands, keeping them active, over to the right hand side of your mat. So inhale, walk your hands to the right hand side of your mat. Feeling a stretch down the left hand side of your body, and take 3 rounds of breath here. Walk your hands back towards the centre of your mat, and with your next inhale, walk them over to the left. This time, feeling the stretch down the right hand side of your body. And return your hands to the middle of the mat and take 2 final rounds of breath in child's pose. From here, place your hands underneath your shoulders and slowly push yourself up into a tabletop position. Now with our tabletop position, we want our hands under our shoulders. We want our full hand pushing into the mat. So we don't want to be resting back on it here. We want evenly spread weight in our hands, making sure you're pushing down in your little fingers and your thumbs. We want our knees underneath our hips. And to start off with, we want to keep the spine neutral. So tucking your tailbone slightly under, having a slight push up between the shoulder blades, and keeping your neck long. And just in this static tabletop position, we're just going to take 2 deep rounds of breath. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And now to get our spine nice and warm, we're going to do 3 rounds of cat-cow. So for cat pose, we're going to exhale and round our spine. We're going to draw our neck and our chin into our body and feel that rounding out between the shoulder blades. When we inhale, we're going to drop the the stomach up and push away from the ground and reach our eyes to the sky. Exhale for cat. Inhale for cow. Exhale, cat. Inhale, cow. And return to our neutral and static tabletop position. So the next pose that we're going to move into is very much a fundamental in your yoga practice, and that is the pose of downward dog. Now downward dog is a resting posture. Anything where your head is below your heart is about down regulating the body, getting your breathing sorted and calmer. So downward dog we're going to move into through tabletop. So keeping your hands pressing into the mat, spreading the weight evenly, making sure your thumb and your little finger are both pushing into the mat. You're going to turn your elbows into your body, so you're tucking them in, so they're not splaying out to the side, they're being tucked in. And you're going to tuck under your toes. So this is how we're going to set up. You're going to push your bum back to your heels. Lower your head down, and then from here you're going to lengthen the legs. Now the idea is trying to get this straight back, this straight line from the tips of your fingers to your tailbone. Now if you're new to the practice or you've got particularly tight hamstrings, keeping a bend in the knees might be how you achieve that straight back. So you might be in this position. If you've got slightly more flexibility in your hamstrings, you might want to start to straighten the legs and lower the heels towards the ground. Now, the heels do not have to touch the ground, but they want to be aiming in that general direction. Take your gaze in between your knees. Feel your elbows tuck in. And we're going to take 5 rounds of breath in downward dog. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And we're going to then lower our knees back down slowly and return to our static tabletop position. Now, just to try and get the setup right for our downward dog, we're just going to take 3 rounds of pushing back from our tabletop into our downward dog and then back again. So we're going to do this 3 times. So, static tabletop, tuck under the toes, push the bum back, lift the knees off the ground and straighten the legs as much as you can. Lower the knees, return to our static tabletop. Inhale, push back, downward dog. Exhale, lower your knees, tabletop. Inhale, downward dog. Exhale, tabletop. As I've said already, downward dog is a key posture, and you'll often find, especially during flow practices, you will come back to it again and again. If downward dog is not feeling right for you at that moment, or in general, there's always the option to go back to child's pose when you're instructed to go into downward dog. So going back into your child's pose and gaining that stretch across the back that way. I'm now just going to show you a few variations of downward dog that will often come up in your yoga practice. So if you could find your way back into downward dog, so tuck under the toes, sit the hips back, straighten the legs. Now, something that you'll often hear your teacher instruct you to do in transitions is 3-legged dog. So from your downward dog position, you're going to lift your left leg just slightly off the ground. It's just a few inches off the ground. And you want to try and keep your hips straight, square to the floor. Keeping your leg straight, your lifted leg straight, which is your left leg at the moment, you're just going to try and increase the height, but at the same time keeping your hips square. When you've reached your leg as high as it can go, you might be instructed to bend your leg and open it out into the side. So this is sometimes called scorpion dog. So this time our hips aren't square to the floor, they're opening out to the side. Slowly lower the left leg back down into downward dog. Lift the right leg slightly off the floor, keeping it straight and your hips square. Extend your leg further up to the sky. When you've got as high as you can, bend the knee, and it's kind of a kicking yourself in the bum motion, and open the hip out to the side for scorpion dog. Slowly lower the right foot back down to the ground and set back into downward dog. Another thing you can also do in downward dog is a bit of stretching. So you could take your left hand to your right calf and twist, so you're having a slight pull from your left hand to your right calf and a slight twist in downward dog. Release your left hand to the mat, take your right hand to your left calf and twist. Release your right hand, left hand to right calf and twist. Return your left hand, right hand to left calf and twist. Right hand back down, lower the knees, back into tabletop. We're now going to look at some of the different types of lunges that you might be asked to go into. So we're going to return into our downward dog. So press your heels back and down and lift your hips up. Raise your left leg into three-legged dog. Then slowly step your left leg in between your hands. And what we're looking for is our knee to be over our ankle. So we want a right angle between our thigh and our calf. We're going to drop the back knee down, uncurl the toes, and we're going to push our chest and look up. So firstly, we are in a low lunge. You can keep your hands to the ground, or you could bring your arms up to the sky. We want to keep our hips square to the front, and we want to keep our knee stacked over our ankle. So whether you keep your hands to the ground or straight up to the sky, we're going to take 3 deep rounds of breath here. Lower the hands if they aren't already, and then step back into downward dog. Lift your right leg into three-legged dog and slowly step your right leg in between your hands. We're going to do exactly the same thing the other side. So we're going to lower our back knee. We're going to keep our front knee over our ankle, hip square to the front, chest pulling forward, and either keeping our hands to the ground or raising them up. We're going to stay here for 3 breaths. Release your hands to the ground if they're not there already, and step back into downward dog. If at any point you want to come down into child's pose, please do. But if you feel you're able to stay in downward dog, that makes the transitions a little easier. So we've looked at low lunge. We're now going to move into crescent lunge, so which is very similar, but the back knee is lifted. So take your left leg into three-legged dog and step it in between your hands. Again, we want the the knee over the ankle. We've got our hips square to the front, but this time our back knee is lifted. So this is crescent lunge, or sometimes people call it high lunge. Our back heel is lifted, we're square to the front with our hips, and we're going to raise our arms to the sky. And we're going to take 3 deep breaths here. Lower the arms to the ground, step back into downward dog or child's pose. Lift the right leg up into three-legged dog and step the right leg between the hands. Keep your back knee lifted and your front knee over your ankle, hips square to the front, reach up, 3 breaths in crescent lunge. Lower the hands down, step back into downward dog. We're now going to look at warrior 1. Now there are only very subtle differences between warrior 1 and crescent lunge. If we start by lifting our left leg into three-legged dog and step your left leg through between your hands, exactly like we did setting up for crescent lunge. Now the very slight difference between crescent lunge and warrior one is the position of our back foot. So crescent lunge or high lunge, your back heel is lifted. For warrior one, we want to lower our heel, but our foot is going to turn towards the top corner of the mat. We're keeping our hips square. We're trying to keep our front knee above our front ankle, and we're twisting our hips to face the front. Now, some people, this position is incredibly uncomfortable. So if you're instructed to go into warrior one and it's just not working for you, just go into crescent lunge instead, or even low lunge if you need to. But crescent lunge, so we'll just go through the differences very quickly. Low lunge, our back knee is lowered, but our front knee is still always positioned over our ankle. Crescent lunge, our back knee is lifted and our heel is lifted. Warrior one, our heel is lowered, our foot is turned out to the side, and we're squaring our hips to the front. So warrior one, we're going to raise our arms again, and we're going to take 3 deep breaths here. Lower the hands to the floor, step back into downward dog or child's pose. Lift your right leg to the sky, 3-legged dog, and step your right leg in between your hands, and we're going to do warrior one this side. So this, we're keeping the front knee over the ankle, our back heel is to the floor, and our back toes are turning out to the left hand corner of the mat. Hips square to the front, bend into that front leg and reach for the sky. The keeping the hips square to the front is also how you help your balance. 3 deep breaths in warrior one. And lower the hands. Step back, downward dog. So what we're going to just do before we move on is a very quick flow between those 3 lunges that we've just looked at. So we're going to start with our left hand side. We're going to lift our left leg up into 3-legged dog. Step your left hand in between your hands, and we're going to go into low lunge to start off with. So back knee lowered, knee over ankle, hips square to the front, reach up. 3 breaths here. From here, we're going to transition into crescent lunge. So keeping the positioning of the hips and the knee the same, we're going to lift the back knee off the ground, and we're going to reach up for 3 breaths. And lastly, into warrior one if you are able. We're going to drop that back heel. You might need to shorten your stance a little bit for warrior one compared to crescent lunge. Drop your back heel, keep your hips square to the front and reach up. Lower the hands to the ground, step back, downward dog. Lift your right leg to the sky, 3-legged dog. Step your right leg in between your hands, lower the back knee for low lunge, hips square to the front, knee over ankle, reach up, 3 deep breaths. You're going to lift the back leg into crescent lunge. Three deep breaths here. lastly, if you're able to, you're going to drop the back heel, shorten your stance if you need to. There tends to be a shorter stance between warrior one and crescent lunge because you want your heel down. Bend in the front knee, back heel down, toes pointing out to the side, hips square, and reach up for 3 deep breaths. Lower your arms down, step back into downward dog, and then I'd like everyone to come onto their knees, sit their bum back onto their heels, and spend 5 breaths in child's pose. So from child's pose, hopefully we've just brought down our heart rate a little because we've done some quite intense stretches. I think people often have this misconception about yoga being just relaxing. Okay, it is relaxing, but it's relaxing through the focus that you put on your body and the strength that you're building there, rather than just being a generally relaxing practice. So we're now going to just look at a few slightly more complex poses. So I'd like you to go from your child's pose, or hopefully you're probably sitting or kneeling now, and I'd just like you to come to standing towards the front of your mat. Okay, so we're going to look at 4 poses now. We're going to look at the setup for warrior 2, reverse warrior, triangle, and pyramid pose. So these are all things that you will quite often hear in a flow sequence. So firstly, from standing at the top of our mat, we're going to set up for warrior 2. You're going to step your right leg out to the side, and you want probably a good 3-4 foot between your 2 feet. Your front toes are pointing to the top of your mat. Your back toes are pointing to the long edge of the mat. So what you've got is your front heel, and you want to try and line that up roughly with your back arch. So that's how our legs need to be positioned. Our hips are going to kind of go where feels natural. So it will probably be sort of slightly turned out to the side. So we don't want to be forcing them forward. That's not helpful in this pose. We just want to kind of let them go where they go. If you want to feel more stretch, try and push them to the long edge of your mat. We're going to take a bend in the front knee, and remembering those same principles of knee over ankle. The back leg remains straight. Our hips are going to go where we want them to, but try and keep your tailbone slightly tucked under. So we don't want to be like this, tailbone slightly tucked under. Then to complete warrior 2, we're going to bring our arms out to shoulder height. We're going to try and relax our shoulders away from our ears, so we don't want to be like this. We want to be nice and relaxed. And we're going to take our gaze over our front middle finger. So our gaze, our focus is our drishti in yoga. So we're going to take 3 deep breaths in warrior 2. Okay, straighten your front leg. We're going to pivot the fronts of the left toes to face the long edge of the mat, and we're going to take our right toes and point them to the short edge of the back end of our mat. We're going to take a bend into our right knee, ensuring our knee is over our ankle. We're going to tuck our tailbone down, and we're going to have our arms out at shoulder height. And we're going to take 3 deep breaths in warrior two again. Straighten your right leg, pivot your toes to face the long edge of your mat and release your arms. Step your right leg to meet your left leg at the top of your mat. So we're now going to move from warrior two into reverse warrior. So the setup is exactly like we just went into warrior two. So we're going to step our right leg out to the side, 3 or 4 feet. We're going to line up our front heel to our back arch, front toes, left toes pointing to the top of the mat, back toes pointing to the long right edge of the mat. We're going to take a bend in the front knee, keeping our knee stacked over our ankles, tucking our tailbone down, and bring your arms out to shoulder height like we did with warrior two. With our inhale, we're going to flip the front hand and we're going to reach the left arm up to the sky, and our right arm, we're going to push it gently down our thigh. So this is reverse warrior, and you should be able to feel a nice stretch down the left hand seam of your body. So we're going to stay here for 3 breaths. And reach your arms back out into warrior two arms. Straighten your left leg, pivot your left toes to face the long edge of the mat, pivot your right toes to the back of the mat, and bend into your front foot. With your inhale, flip your right hand and lift up to the sky, bringing your left arm down your leg, and take 3 nice deep breaths into that right seam of your body. Return the arms to warrior two arms, straighten the right leg, pivot your toes to the long edge of the mat. Now this time, so rest your arms if you need to, we're going to return back to warrior two on the other side, and we're going to move into the next pose, which again keeps a very similar leg setup, which is going to be triangle. So pivot your left toes to the top of your mat, lining up your front heel to your back arch. Bend in the front knee, knee over ankle. So we're back in our warrior two legs. Put your arms out to the side again, shoulder height. So to transition from warrior two into triangle, you're going to straighten your front leg. So you've now got 2 nice, strong, straight legs. You're going to reach your left arm forwards. So you're literally tilting forwards. You're going to twist your palms to face the front of the room, and then you're going to pivot to reach your left hand somewhere on your calf. You don't want to be reaching the ground. The idea is you're getting a stretch from your left fingers to your right fingers. That nice big stretch. If you're finding this really difficult, you might want to get your prop, your tub, and reach to there. But the idea is trying not to put any weight on your fingers. So we're going to take 3 deep breaths in triangle. Pivot back up, bend into your front knee, and we're back in warrior two. Turn your left toes in, right toes out, and bend into the right knee. Straighten the front leg, tip your weight forwards, and pivot for triangle. Feeling that weight, feeling the stretch from the tips of your left fingers to the tips of your right fingers. 3 deep breaths here. And pivot up, bend back into the right knee, turn the toes to face the front, release the arms and find yourself at the top of the mat. So we've just looked at warrior 2, reverse warrior and triangle, and then there's one more pose I want us to look at today, and that is pyramid pose. So you'd go into this usually from a warrior 2 stance, but we're just going to practice. We'll start at the top of our mats. You're going to step your right leg back. Now you want a relatively short stance, maybe 1 foot, 2 feet at the very most, and keep your hips square to the front of the room. Now what you'll notice is that both of my legs are straight. Both sets of toes are pointing to the top of the mat. So with pyramid pose, it's about melting from the hips over that front leg, but trying to keep both legs straight. So with an inhale, exhale, and you're going to melt over the front leg. Now, if you've got tight hamstrings, this will be hard to do. The idea is that you want to try and keep the top of the body relaxed. So this is where you might want to bring your props in. It's if you need to bring the ground a little bit closer to you to relax the top of your body, but to keep the legs straight, do that. If you are still finding it really difficult, even bring more props to raise the ground. So we're going to melt. We're going to keep our hips square to the front, both legs straight, and our neck relaxed. And we're going to take 3 deep breaths here. And slowly lift back up. Just move your props out the way and step your right foot back to meet your left foot. Same again for the other side. So we're going to step our left foot back. We're keeping both sets of toes pointed to the front. We're keeping our hips square and both of our legs are straight. If you need your props, bring them to either side of your right foot. And from our hips, we're going to inhale, then exhale to melt over that straight front leg, keeping our back leg straight as well. We're going to take 3 deep breaths here. And slowly lift back up, step your left foot to meet your right foot, and then we're going to lower down to the ground. So we've been through a variety of different poses. Just before we cool down and then come into our Shavasana, we're just going to very quickly do a flow through the different poses that we've learned today. So we're going to start in downward dog. So if you remember, come from our tabletop, push our hips back to our heels, push up, keeping that long back, knees bent if that's what you need. We're going to lift our left leg into 3-legged dog and firstly step in to our low lunge with our knee on the ground. 1 breath in, 1 breath out, lower. You're going to lift the back knee into crescent lunge. 1 breath in, 1 breath out, lower. We're going to lower the back heel, shorten our stance if we need to. Hips square, 1 breath in for warrior 1, 1 breath out. From here, we're going to open up into warrior 2. Front knee bent, front heel square, in line with back arch, arms out. One breath in, one breath out. Flip the front palm, reverse warrior. Breath in, breath out, return. Straighten the front leg, pivot forwards into triangle. One breath in, one breath out. Get our props, turn onto our left leg, and we're going to shorten our stance into pyramid, and we're going to melt over our front leg. One breath in, one breath out. Step back into downward dog, and last side, lift your right heel, step forwards into low lunge, knee down. One breath in, one breath out. Lift the back knee into our crescent lunge. One breath in, one breath out. Lower the back heel for warrior one. One breath in, one breath out. Open up into warrior two. One breath in, one breath out. Flip your front palm. One breath in for reverse warrior. One breath out. Straighten the front leg. Pull forward into triangle. One breath in, one breath out. Twist round. Shorten your stance into pyramid. Grab your props. Melt over the front leg for one breath in and one breath out. Move your props and find your way onto your backs. So we're coming into our cooling down. So if we find our way onto our backs, and we've done lots of work today, and it's just about now cooling down the body. So first thing I'd like you to do is, if your feet aren't already, I'd like you to bring your feet in contact with with the ground and your knees pointing up to the ceiling. Have your palms facing up to the sky. And then I'd like you just to drop your knees open into butterfly pose. And we don't want to push, we just want to let gravity open up our hips. And we're going to take 3 nice deep breaths into butterfly. Slowly, using your hands if you need to, push your knees back up to meet. Extend your left leg to the ground and pull your right knee into your body. And you're just going to hug your right knee tight into your body for 3 breaths. Moving into a twist, place your left hand on your right knee and you're going to gently pull your right knee across your body into a twist. It doesn't matter how low you go, you might even want to bring a couple of cushions to prop up your knee, but we want to try and keep our shoulders to the ground. So we're going to take 3 deep breaths into the twist. Slowly return back to centre, hug in the right knee and extend your right leg down to the ground. Hug in your left knee, tight into the body for 3 breaths. Take your right hand to your left knee and gently pull the leg over the body, coming in to a twist, keeping your left shoulder down towards the ground. 3 deep breaths here. Slowly return to centre, hug the left knee in and then extend the left leg to the ground. Last pose before we move into our final Shavasana, you're going to bring both knees into the body and you're going to grab either your big toes with your peace fingers, or you might prefer to grab the outside of your feet. You're going to pull your knees into your armpits, keeping your back straight along the ground, into happy baby. You're going to take 5 nice deep breaths here, and it sometimes feels nice to do a little rock from side to side, massaging along the spine. Slowly release the feet to the ground. We're going to extend your legs long in front of you and bring your arms out to the side, palms facing up. We're moving into our final Shavasana, our resting pose, where we can absorb all of the goodness that we've done in our practice today and think about those bad negative toxins being released and cleansed from our body. Find yourself in a comfortable lying down position. Bring the eyes to close and just focus back on your breathing. Breathing in through your nose for a count of 5. Out through your nose for 5. In for 5. Out for 5. In for 5. Out for 5. And keep this slow, balanced pace of breath going throughout your Shavasana. If you feel your mind start to wander, come back to counting your breaths to return your focus to your relaxation. As you come into your Shavasana, relax the space between your eyebrows. Relax your eyelids. Relax your jaw. Bring a gentle gap between your top and bottom rows of teeth and allow your tongue to hang heavy in your mouth. Feel your shoulders sink into the mat. Feel your spine melt into the floor. Feel your hips soften. Feel your glutes relax. Let your knees feel heavy. Let your ankles melt into the ground. Relax your toes, relax your fingers, and keep coming back to that breath, nurturing that life force, that pranayama inside of you. slowly start to bring some awareness back into the body. Wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. Keeping the eyes closed, draw your knees into your body and give yourself a big hug. Roll onto your right hand side, keeping your eyes shut, and stay here for a few breaths. Keep your eyes closed and gently push yourself up into a comfortable seated position. Bow your head and bring your hands into prayer. Acknowledge the time you have taken for yourself today. The light in me sees the light in you. Namaste.